Hey, what's up? This is Daily Feet Pit. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong video. Uh, okay, so this is my compressor. There's only four settings that you really have to worry about on a compressor, and I'll explain each one. The threshold right here, sorry, I'm going to sound out of breath because I am. The threshold, that's basically the decibel level at which you want the compressor to turn on, right? So the ratio, that is where you start to understand compression. So ratio refers to decibels in to decibels out. So if I have this at a 1-to-1 ratio, that means for every 1 decibel that goes into this unit, 1 decibel comes out. Now, when I turn that up to 2-to-1, that means that for every 2 decibels that goes into this unit, 1 decibel comes out. So you can turn a compressor into what is called a limiter by just cranking up the ratio to where it's like, for every 10 decibels that go in, 1 decibel comes out. For trombone, I like to leave it at around a 3-to-1, somewhere in there, because it makes everything sound fat. Because what it's doing is, like, let's pretend this is your audio waveform. What it's gonna do is just chop off the top of those waves and then bring everything up to compensate in volume. So what you get is just like a lot more sustain, a lot more fatness in the mix. I will say it's easier to hear on outboard equipment, so I'll bring this at some point. The attack is the speed at which the compressor moves the ratio from 1-to-1 up to whatever setting you have. Um, if you want like a really light compression, you set the attack, you would set the ratio down something easy like 2-to-1, and then you would set the attack slow. This is just going to give you, like, if your vocalist is at different distances from the mic while they're tracking because they have horrible mic technique, that's when I would use a slow attack. Anyway, the release is exactly what it sounds like. It's the speed at which the compressor releases all the compression. So the speed at which this knob goes all the way back to 1-to-1. Um, Output, this is not present on every compressor, but this is like an output. This just gives you more gain if you've lost a lot of levels from doing your ratio. A lot of like bass players use a limiter with a really high threshold to stop feedback loops. So if I wanted to turn this into a limiter, I'd crank the ratio knob all the way up and then the threshold all the way up as well. So that way when I get, a feedback loop going crazy, the limiter will kick in and knock it down. And usually that stops the feedback loop. But sometimes it can keep going. But anyway, you don't really have to, all of these buttons are just extras. If I was playing bass, I'd leave this setting on RMS. I don't know why. It's just like for vocals I use peak, and I can't tell you why. I know exactly. I know that I was taught the difference between peak and RMS, but the only thing I remember is that for bass you turn it on RMS mode. Hard knee and soft knee is, again, I don't remember exactly how to explain it unless I had like a graph and some graph paper. So just ignore it. I usually put it on a soft knee, but hard knee, again, I would use for bass. Um, Input versus, I don't remember what this is. I think this might be like for side chaining, which I'll never explain. Okay, so over here we have a noise gate, which is like completely separate from a compressor. Both of these units have noise gates. So like this is a stereo compressor, meaning that it's got two channels, one, two. Both of them have a noise gate. So these are actually really good for using with guitar and bass. And they're like 50 bucks used. You can't get them new anymore. Anyway, that's compression.